That is right. Squared Circle Radio is live on YouTube, on Facebook. The SummerSlam post show. What a night it was. Aaron Grisham already throwing up the ones in the comments. That could only mean one thing. The OTC has returned. Roman Reigns is returned to the WWE. We're here to talk all about it. Who's we? I'm your phenomenal host, Mr. Podcasting, Chris Belcher. The young buck, Andy York, is back with me. And I promise you some special guests. And there could be no one more special than the whole podcasting show. My brother from another mother, Jared Justice, is with us. We're going to break it all down. Andy was at my house watching the show, so we sort of debriefed for a minute. So before we go any further, Jared, immediate reaction to the show as a whole, what do you think?
I loved it, man. I mean, I thought it was a great show. The Nia match was the only match that I was like, got up, went and took a poop, came back. It was still going on. But, other than that, man, great show.
Yeah, I thought it was great too. Andy, I mean, a really solid, I would safely say it was better than last year's SummerSlam.
I think easily. This was a lot better than last year's SummerSlam. A stacked card with a lot of storytelling heading into it. And tonight was just storytelling upon storytelling upon storytelling upon storytelling in almost every single match. Plus, the matches for the most part delivered at the same time. So I really, really enjoyed it. I think this was one of the better pay-per-views or PLEs or whatever we're calling them under the Triple H regime from just an all-around perspective from storytelling to in-ring as well.
Yeah, storytelling was great. In-ring was great. We're going to break it all down for you. If this is your first time checking us out, man, like Aaron Grisham is saying in the comments, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. We would appreciate it so much. That's on the YouTube channel. If you're listening to this, not live, on the recap, you can still give us a like. You can still give us a comment. You can certainly still subscribe, even on audio. We're available wherever you find your podcast as well. So we appreciate it very, very much if you're doing that. Again, we're taking your comments. We're taking your questions live. So make sure that you drop those in the chat, either on Facebook or on YouTube. We would appreciate it very much. There's our first comment. My brother, Jared is my brother from another mother, Bryce Hall. The Judgment Day imploded tonight. Man, they certainly did not expect them to all implode in one night. But man, it happened. We're going to get to that in just a minute, but we got to start with the tribal chief. The original Roman Reigns is back, helping Cody Rhodes, maybe reluctantly, maybe not, retain the undisputed WWE Championship. Jared, it's been speculated online all week long. He's coming back. He's coming back. He's coming back. Well, we know that there's a chance that he wouldn't, but he did. What a moment it was, helping Cody. Were you shocked by that?
Dude, I mean, I really thought that, I really felt pretty confident that he would come back. I'd heard rumors that he would be there on SmackDown, and I was like, I think they'll save it for the pay-per-view. So that didn't surprise me, but I am kind of surprised that they let him help Cody win, just for the simple fact, not anything to do with their past or anything like that. But a lot of people did not want Cody to be made to look weak, and Roman helped him win. I mean, that's just exactly what you just said. That's what people are going to be talking about. So for those people out there, it didn't bother me. That's just what a lot of the internet was saying. But again, there's a bunch of crybabies everywhere. So that's just what the internet does.
Well, yes. Well, we famously talk about the internet wrestling community and how obviously they have a mind of their own. They can have an opinion of their own, but they can never be satisfied. I think that's my point. Yes. We're all a bunch of Cody crybabies at the end of the day. Andy, Roman helping Cody. Thoughts?
I don't know. I think it's not necessarily him helping Cody as much as he wasn't about to let Solo do what he didn't do.
Sure.
I think that's the kind of the way I look at it, as like he looked at Cody and was like, yeah, I did that. Not necessarily for you though. Like I did this for me and me alone. And so I like that aspect of it, because we've kind of been talking for the last couple of weeks of before Money in the Bank, we were saying when Roman shows up, we're going to be asking the question like, which side is he really on? Which side is he really on? Then the Solo promos heading into Money in the Bank, and even this show, it kind of was like, okay, when Roman comes back, he has to be going after Solo because Solo is calling him weak and everything else. So, that part to me is not as shocking. I was shocked, honestly, at how strong they made Solo look for the most part throughout this match, because he took a bunch of big moves and kicked out of a lot of them. Like, broken up.
He took an RKO, a stunner. Sorry. It was
Swanton.
It was a power slam, a swanton, and then the crossroads.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I'm shocked too. But I thought the match itself, aside from Roman, I thought the match itself was really, really good.
Yeah.
I thought Solo had an impressive showing. The usual cast of characters that we thought would show up. We didn't get an Uso, which was okay, I guess. Really would have liked to have seen those guys, but Randy and Kevin were cool because they've been off TV for several weeks now. And then the usual cast of characters in the Bloodline. The biggest concern, a great match. We'll get to the intro in a minute, but the biggest concern coming out, Andy, is that Jacob Fatu injury. He got helped by medical. It looked bad when he did it. He did not look happy when it happened. Aaron is asking in the comments, how injured is Jacob Fatu? Andy, I hope it's not bad.
It didn't look good. I mean, it looked like when he hit the splash to the table, it looked like his knee hit. I couldn't tell if it hit like the corner of it or where it hit exactly on his knee.
Yep.
But he was grabbing his shin area too. So you can always tell when a wrestler or like when an athlete gets hurt, because especially in a big moment, because they always fly mad. Like they're always very mad that they got hurt in that moment. And he was livid. Like he was throwing chairs, everything else. He tried to stand on it at one point and like just completely collapsed. So I'm hoping it's nothing too serious, because I think out of all the members of the new Bloodline, I've been preaching this for the last couple of weeks, out of all the members of the new Bloodline, he has the biggest upside and the most momentum right now.
Sure.
It seems like. And so I'm hoping that doesn't stop because of this injury.
Hopefully not. There's a lot of different ways they could go with it. Let's fantasy book for a minute. Bryce wants to know. Again, appreciate you guys commenting live. If you're watching on YouTube, if you haven't subscribed already, please make sure that you do so. Who's everybody got for Roman's first match back? Is it Solo, another Bloodline member, a tag match? Jared, I'm going to throw to you first, man. What do you think on this one?
I think that it'll be a member of the Bloodline that he goes at first, but I don't think it'll be Solo. I think they'll do the classic thing and make him work his way through. I think the plan was going to be that he started with what are they called, the Gorillas of Destiny or whatever, and worked his way through those two guys, then made it to Jacob, then made it to Solo. But I was actually watching the last half of the show with my wife, which I've never actually watched that much wrestling with her in the past. So I got to hear all of her concerns and comments and all that stuff. And so I was talking with her, and as soon as I saw that, man, I was like, he's hurt. She's like, you mean for real? And I was like, yeah, like he has messed his knee up. And so we kind of watched him every little shot, and I was like, oh, yeah, he's definitely hurt. So, but I think that probably would have been the plan.
Yeah, Aaron even commented saying that Jacob getting injured made it a little wonky. That maybe that Jacob had more. It's very possible that Jacob had more that he was supposed to do in that, and they just had to go with it and improv. Which, I mean, when wrestlers get hurt, that's what you have to do. You know,
that's exactly what I told my wife, man. That was the other part. It was whenever that Solo went up to the top rope, and I was like, that was Jacob's spot. He was supposed to have done the splash, not Solo, and then Solo was going to cover Cody after that. That's just my opinion.
And you could very well be right, because that's a very Jacob thing to do. Because he's the high flying guy. Andy, I am of the mindset, if we're fantasy booking this, again back to Bryce's comment, if we're fantasy booking this, I don't have Solo versus Roman 1-on-1 until WrestleMania. I think we can make it all the way, if not to the Rumble, Roman and Solo at Rumble, and then you get Rock Roman at WrestleMania, if that's sort of the direction that you go. All that to say, I don't think Roman wrestles until War Games. I think that's the first match.
Do we have another Saudi show between now and then?
Probably beginning of November.
I would say we probably have a tag match Roman and Jay versus the Grills of Destiny would be really interesting, I think.
Mm.
To do those two at the Saudi show, and then, like you said, War Games match, and then the Rumble do Roman solo, and then go into WrestleMania with Roman Rock. But I don't see Roman solo happening. But I mean, potentially maybe at the Saudi show and have like a schmoz finish or something like that, and then set up something down the line.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think they'll do it until at the earliest the Rumble.
Yep. I agree. Depends on what they do with Rock. Because there's still a possibility. At the end of the day, let's remember, Roman Reigns returned.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of schmoz stuff. Cody Rhodes is still the undisputed WWE champion.
Yep.
So he's clearly not done with the bloodline
right
in this whole situation. So either we're heading to Rock Roman at WrestleMania, or we're heading to Cody Rock at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So that's why I think Roman solo could drag all the way out there.
Yeah.
Because who else do you put Roman against if Rock is already taken?
At WrestleMania?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could absolutely do Roman solo at WrestleMania, or do another big bloodline match where you do Roman and the Usos versus Solo and the Grills of Destiny or anything like that. But to me, that still wouldn't make as much sense as doing Roman solo. Honestly, I think the plan is, because we don't know how much longer and healthier The Rock is going to be when it comes to wrestling. So I think they want to do Roman Rock as soon as possible rather than wait another year and a half or however long. So I could see them doing Rock Cody at the Rumble, doing Roman solo at the Rumble, and then doing Roman Rock at WrestleMania, doing Cody Randy probably at WrestleMania.
I like that. I can get behind that. Again, as I started this whole conversation, Jared, there's a lot of different ways that you can go with this. Obviously, we're all sort of penciling in OG bloodline versus new bloodline in War Games and Survivor Series. That got confirmed this week that War Games is coming back. Bryce commented and said he can see something happen for Bad Blood. Absolutely could do that. I don't know. A lot of different ways we could go, but Jared, at the end of the day, Cody is still your champion. Do you keep him in a bloodline feud, or do you sort of separate them again till we get back to WrestleMania?
I mean, I guess it kind of depends on. I want to see the bloodline like it used to be for War Games, which would be like, Roman, the Usos, and then you have Sami Zayn in there. I think that would be awesome. So if you go that direction, I think that definitely you would have Cody doing something else. But the problem is going to be, if Cody's not doing something with Rock, whatever Cody does is not going to be nearly as big as whatever they're doing with Roman and the bloodline. So how do you keep him relevant as your main guy?
I think champion. That's something. I think that's a situation where Cody's main event is one night, Rock Roman is night number 2, where you have Cody, like Andy said, Cody Randy, maybe Cody CM Punk, maybe
people would care about CM Punk. I don't think him and Randy would necessarily light the world on fire for what people want to see at Mania.
Here's something else to consider. And Aaron gave us this comment here. Aaron loading up our comments. Again, we're taking your comments and questions live. Thank you, buddy. Cody still doesn't trust Roman. Roman still doesn't trust Cody. That match has got to happen again at some point too, right? Mm-hmm. Like, when do we get that? Is that the Saudi match? And the bloodline comes in and interferes, and it's a big small.
I mean, that's a really big possibility. And I love like the little details of when Cody hit that finisher, he made sure Solo's leg was out of the way so he could make eye contact with Roman to make sure like Roman wasn't coming back down to the ring to screw him over or anything like that. Like that moment told us a lot that right now the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yes. And
that's kind of the story that they're telling, but you have to run back Roman Cody one more time. I mean, I think they could do it at the next Saudi show. I think they could push it back till SummerSlam next year.
Yeah,
like we do Roman and Rock, we do Cody, whoever, and then SummerSlam next year is when the big main event of.
Yeah, I think to your point though about the health of Rock, I would call the health of Roman into question as well.
Yeah,
because we don't know what his status is with his leukemia and all that kind of stuff. So I think we have to think about that and how much. Yes, he's back, but are we getting part-time Roman back? Are we getting semi-full-time Roman? Like,
yeah,
there's still going to be some stuff there that he's not going to be there all the time.
right.
I want to throw this comment up real quick. Shout out in the chat, including Squared Circle Radio and everybody there. Keep up the good work. Appreciate it. Shout out from the South Bronx, brother BKL. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for checking us out. We appreciate it so much. And again, if you're a new listener, you're a new subscriber, thank you for coming to the show. Check out all of our past episodes. They're available on our YouTube channel, available in our podcast archives. That's everywhere you find your podcast. And of course, on the YouTube channel, hit the like button and subscribe. I would appreciate it. Andy would appreciate it. Jared would appreciate it. It's very, very appreciated on this channel, if you can't tell it already. Before we move on, I know we're spending a lot of time on Cody and Roman. And so this was obviously, it was the main event. It was the big story of the night. Jared, I don't know what made me happier tonight. Seeing Cody Rhodes retain the championship or seeing Arn Anderson back with Cody Rhodes on WWE television. How freaking cool was that?
Oh man, I popped. I was like, it's Arn. It's Arn. It's Arn Anderson.
So good.
But Tessa had no clue who he was. But one thing I'm going to bring up, we're talking
That's
about
what happened in our house too. Everybody was like, who's this guy? Who's this guy? Who's this guy?
Yes.
And we're all like, it's Arn Anderson. Go ahead.
So my other question is what about Pharaoh? For some reason, they were acting like this was Pharaoh's last trip to the ring or something, and they never told why. I mean, he looked in pretty good shape to me. And of course, that's all Tessa was worried about was the dog. So
listen, there were females in our house that all they were worried about was the dog as well. So it's fine. No, Cody put on Twitter, this is Pharaoh's last road trip.
Mhm.
Like, he's going to stay home. He's not going to bring him on the road anymore. He's 13 years old. And he said it's getting hard on him. So this is his last trip. So yeah, this was Pharaoh's swan song.
It was.
But it was super cool that he at least brought him close to the ring.
Don't bring him out with the pyro.
Don't bring him out with the pyro. Let's
I was like,
not-
oh God. Oh no.
I know, right? This is interesting. Bryce throws this comment at us as we're fantasy booking this. They could swerve us all. Cody could be on Roman's team for War Games if they kept Cody involved with the Bloodline story. Andy, we sort of brought that up during the show.
Yep.
Is if you do this 5-on-5 War Games with the possibility of either having The Rock on Solo's
Yep.
team or Hikuleo, the
Mhm.
other brother, comes in, debuts. You have the 5 current Bloodline. You have Roman, the Usos, Sami Zayn, of course, and Cody's the 5th. Very interesting way to go about that if you were to go that route.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very fascinating way to go because it's not out of place.
Yes.
Like, it's not just a random thing just to throw Cody in there. Like, that's the good thing about interweaving all these stories together is that you can have moments like that where it goes in. And also it could play into, like, you know, we've speculated this for a while. Kevin Owens turning heel at some point and being like, both Sami and Cody went back to Roman or went to Roman after all that he's done.
Yep.
And so that could build to that story that's happening at the same time. So I think it makes a lot of sense. I think that adds a whole lot to it. Personally, I think there is almost a 0% chance that The Rock is going to wrestle in War Games unless he's the 5th entrant or the last entrant coming in and just pinning somebody and leaving, because he ain't doing that no more. I don't think so. So, but I think he will be there in some capacity, and it's going to play into that Bloodline Civil War. This is like the culmination of that before we head into, you know, who's really the tribal chief. Is it Roman? Is it Rock? Is it Solo? Like, what is actually going on?
Yeah, for sure.
Think about this too. With that scenario, if you have Cody kind of tagging along, being part of the Bloodline, then right now you basically have Roman as a face. I mean, that's kind of what it seems like they're going to have to make him because of his reaction. So you go through this whole big thing where him and Cody are together, and Roman and them defeat this new Bloodline, and then right at the end of it, boom, spear to Cody.
Yep.
Back to the heel turn, and you back again going with that match. So that would be great.
And I've long said this too, like, Roman Reigns can just be Roman Reigns. He doesn't necessarily have to be aligned as a heel or a babyface. It's just going to be a matter of how the fans react to him. Because when he walked in tonight, yes, he hit the guy that everybody wanted him to hit. Yeah. But he didn't do anything different than he would any other time. Listen, for those of you who are just now catching up, because we had some guys that were at our house tonight who haven't kept up with the product since WrestleMania or on a regular basis. And it's always great to get their perspective of what's going on and to clue them in on the storytelling and all that. But what I try to explain to them is Roman Reigns was a babyface the day he left.
Yeah.
The day WrestleMania ended, Roman Reigns is a babyface.
Yeah.
They chanted, "Thank you, Roman," the night after WrestleMania. We want Roman chants happen the next SmackDown, and we're off to the races.
Yep.
Nothing Roman Reigns did changed.
No.
He didn't come out and cut a promo that said, "Oh, I love you. Thank you so much for your blah, blah, blah." No, it's still the same guy. It's just okay that we cheer him now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's true with a lot of like people who get hurt and then come back. I think that was one of the things that, like, when Seth came back after blowing out his knee in 2016 or whatever it was, people were ready to cheer him and wanted to cheer him. And so I think that plays into it. He is just purely Roman Reigns.
Yep.
And that whatever he does, people are going to love until he does it to somebody that we really, really love, like a Cody Rhodes or, a CM Punk or an LA Knight or whatever, John Cena, whatever the case is. Then it's like, oh no, now we boo him. Like, now we boo him, but we really like him at the same time too. Right. We're booing him because we appreciate him.
Well, that's what happened with Rock in the final boss run.
Yeah.
Same thing. Exact same thing. Yeah. Jared, did you ever think, in especially us sitting in the Superdome for WrestleMania 34 and what debacle that was, and the debacle was WrestleMania 31 and all of that, the Royal Rumble leading up to that, did you ever think we would be sitting here and talking about Roman Reigns the way that we are, and as special and as big of a talent as he is? Did you ever think we'd get there?
No, man. I mean, I watched this with my wife, which was very fun because I got to hear her views on everything, and I thought I could kind of incorporate them some into this show because her views are so different, where she doesn't know all the history and she's not up to date on the current stories. But I was trying to tell her about, Roman and everything, and I said, there was a figure, if you remember, whenever that we went to WrestleMania 34, it was a Roman Reigns figure. And I'm not sure if I told her this story tonight. I think I've told her before. But anyways, that's beside the point. I think it was $45 for a signed Roman Reigns figure of him from NXT.
I remember
nobody was buying it.
Right.
And it still haunts me to this day that I did not buy that figure.
My gosh.
The same way it haunts me that we had the chance to meet Cody, which I did tell her this tonight. I was like,
I did it.
Yeah. The only smart one out of all three of us. But I was telling her, I was like, what was it, like $45, maybe 75, something like that?
I don't think it was that much.
It was less than 100. I know that for sure.
Yeah. And I was like, imagine now, I bet it would be 500 a pop just to get like a picture, an autograph, meet him, go on. I was like, man, but I was explaining all this stuff to her and trying to, like you said, kind of give her a sense of how far we've come with Roman and some of these stories.
Yeah, man, it's so crazy.
Well, I can't believe that this is the first time that we've had a true babyface Roman Reigns.
Yep.
Like, not a forced babyface Roman Reigns. This is like what the envision for Roman Reigns was from the beginning, that they tried to force on everybody. They got to it, and it's so weird to see the difference 4 or 5 years makes. Because 4 or 5 years ago, I remember sitting at your house, SummerSlam, when he pinned Brock Lesnar, and I was livid because I'm like, here we go again. It's the same Roman Reigns stuff we're doing over and over and over again. Now it's like, I'm excited that he's back. Like, Roman's back, and he's a babyface, and it's cool again. Like, it's really cool.
Well, it's so interesting because right after he beat Brock is when he had to relinquish the title. He had the leukemia scare. He was out for a long time. And then when he came back from the leukemia scare, we were going somewhere.
Yeah.
People were behind him.
The Baron Corbin thing happened, and then we were like, nope.
Then the dog stuff, the dog food and all that really just, drug us down
to where we were.
And then the pandemic happened, and then now we get this version of Roman Reigns. So lots to talk about still with that. We're going to have a show coming up on Tuesday. Make sure you tune in wherever you find your podcast. Make sure you tune in on the YouTube channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to talk about the fallout from all this, from what happens on Monday Night Raw. I'm sure we'll hopefully have an update on Jacob Fatu at that point. We're going to talk about all that then, but let's keep talking about the rest of the card. Jared, the match before that, Damien Priest and Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. Gunther capturing the title, as we all sort of figured. What we didn't all figure was the turn of Finn Balor. Bryce commented earlier and said the Judgment Day imploded, and this was one part of it, man. I thought it was an extremely good match, and then Balor was icing on the cake.
Oh, yeah, man. And again, I'm going to keep saying this because this was the first time I'd really watched wrestling with my wife for an extended period of time. But I had such trouble, man, trying to explain to her why Gunther was a bad guy, because me and her both like him. And so I was like, well, he doesn't cheat, but he makes kind of nasty remarks, I guess. And she's like, well, it seems like he's the good guy. And I was like, yeah, it kind of does. And also I told her, I was like, you wait and see. The guy on the outside that just came down, he's going to turn on the bigger, darker skinned guy. And his name, is Damien or whatever. And so she was like, if you don't quit telling me what's going to happen, because there was like 5 things I called. And she was like, you just going to have to shut up. And so, yeah. I told her right when Jacob Fatu was coming out, I was like, he's going to turn around and there's Jacob. And he turned around, boom, there was Jacob. She was like, you got to hush.
Yeah, there was definitely a look between Andy and I when Finn hit the ring. Andy and I looked at each other like,
there it is.
Here it is. Here we go. Because Triple H era of storytelling, he's not going to just show that backstage pre-tape between the two of them or the interaction earlier in the night.
Yeah.
He's not going to show those things that don't mean anything. Yeah. You can call back to, was it Money in the Bank when they had the backstage interaction before the Priest match and Balor looked at him and said, you got it, boss.
Yeah.
And the way he said it and the look on his face, like all of those things mean something. So the devil is in the details, as they say. And for guys like the three of us who pay attention to details, yes, it stinks that we sort of know what's going to happen, but it's because we're looking at these things and it's like, okay, this leads to this, and it's logical storytelling.
Yeah. Plus, it also makes the moments that we don't see coming when they happen. It's like mind blowing,
absolutely
amazing at the same time.
Yep.
I'll say this: we've been saying for a long time, like every pay per view, I feel like this is when the Judgment Day explodes.
Yep.
This is like when everything falls apart, and it's never happened. Obviously what happened at the beginning of the show really set the tone for the rest of the night.
Yes.
But the moment in the backstage interview, the second backstage segment, when Priest said, I'm sorry, and then Finn said, I'm sorry, and just stopped for a second. I was like, oh, they are playing with us here because things are about to happen. I love this match. I think this was Damien Priest's best match as champion. He's had a couple good ones with Seth was pretty good. The Drew one was pretty good, but this one was like, it just shows Damien Priest is really good. It also just shows how good Gunther really is. Yep. And him getting the world title finally and being able to kind of keep going what Seth and what Priest did with that title, I think is going to be really, really exciting to see what he does next on Raw.
Speaking of what's next, Jared, it looks like Damien Priest and Finn Balor in some shape or form going forward. Gunther, I mean, I said it on the show last week. I think we could see Gunther and Drew at Bash in Berlin for the world title since Drew picked up the win, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then CM Punk screws him again, which, that's probably going to happen. But regardless of all that, it'll be interesting to see how they book this going forward, because Andy and I were talking before we hit record. It's like, does Priest and Balor, how long does it take to work themselves back into the world title picture if they do? Because you can't, to me, Jared, you can't have Priest in a rematch with Gunther at the Berlin show and have him lose again if you're trying to push him as a really big baby face. What are your thoughts?
Oh, yeah. I mean, right now, I never took him legitimately as a champion. I didn't think there's just something missing still. But you can tell that they're trying to push him because he's pretty good. I mean, he can talk fairly well. He wrestles pretty good. I mean, these two guys beat the crap out of each other. I mean, I've never seen anybody chop somebody so hard that they literally bleed from the chest.
Yeah.
Gunther was the one bleeding, not Priest, which was
yeah. Sorry if I didn't make that clear. But,
no, I just meant that's not what I would have expected. It would have been the reverse for me. Yeah. Gunther would have made Priest bleed.
Oh yeah. But I mean, both of them was like haymakers going at each other. I was like, my gosh. And every time one of them would like connect, Tessa, and I was like, they're throwing bombs.
Yeah.
Lots of that in our house too.
Yes, it was rough.
Lots of reactions like that in our house. But like you said, man, best Priest match that we've gotten yet. You left out the Jey Uso match, which up to this point was probably my favorite, but I thought this one was really, really good. I'm excited to see where they go with both these guys. I'm like you, Jared, and Andy, we've talked about this too. There's still something missing with Priest.
Yeah.
Don't exactly know what it is yet. They're starting to catch it, though. The people are starting to get behind him. I just wonder if losing the title is going to hurt that. Does he need the title to continue to push forward?
Maybe. I think with the whole Judgment Day imploding, I think one, Rhea Ripley doesn't need a rocket to her back because she's already at the very top of the mountain.
Yep.
But I think that will help Damien Priest more than having the world title, is having Dom and Finn going after him and everything like that, because he's justified in everything he's doing now and everything that's happening. So I think that's going to help him a lot. And we've seen like the last couple of weeks, we all were kind of wondering what a babyface Damien Priest looks like. And I think this feud with Gunther kind of shows like he's got something. Like he's got some. I don't know if it's going to work long term, but right now it can work really well. And we can see how vicious Finn Balor can be as a heel. I think that'll help a lot. I don't know. I'm more excited. I'm more intrigued by Damien Priest now than I ever was with him as world champion or even as Mr. Money in the Bank. I think I'm more intrigued now than ever before for him.
I can get behind that. I can certainly get behind that. Again, lots of ways they can go with this. I think we're all in agreement that we are excited as to where they're going. Let's move on. Bryce drops us a comment and let's talk about it. CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. He says, can we all agree we're working towards a triple threat cell match at Bad Blood between Seth, Punk, and Drew? Listen, Jared, if they don't, what on earth are we doing? Like, that's where this thing has to go, right?
Yep. The word culminate. That's where this thing has to culminate. That's what they always used to say back in the old days of wrestling. Gorilla Monsoon especially. But I mean, it has to culminate somewhere, and I think that's how you do it, is inside the cell. And I think somebody needs to get busted. I mean, this thing needs to be brutal.
Agreed. And of course, we're talking about Drew McIntyre getting the win over CM Punk tonight. CM Punk dropped Seth Rollins with the GTS. There was a little schmoz there. Rollins reluctantly counted CM Punk down. He was trying. You could see if you're reading Rollins' lips, he's trying to do the right thing. Yeah. He's trying to call it down the middle. He was only wearing the bracelet because he picked it up off the mat. Punk got mad. You know, all the things. So lots of stuff to unpack there. But Drew getting the win. I don't know, man. It's not over though.
No,
that's all I know. It's not over.
It's not over. And honestly, like this was the match I was the most excited for.
Mm-hmm.
The match I was also the most nervous for, because one, I'm a big CM Punk fan, and so it's very nerve-wracking. Like, he's only had one match in WWE, and he got hurt in it, and it was like a 30-man match. So like, it wasn't like a one-on-one. He still got hurt.
Right.
So I was like, two things have to happen. One, he can't get blown up right away, which he kind of did, but he recovered pretty quickly, and everything kind of got better. And two, just don't get hurt.
Right.
And I really enjoyed it. I think the little details of, because we all saw the bracelet was just on the mat, and we were like, oh, Seth just picked it up. Like, Seth picked it up. He's probably just like getting out of the way, whatever. And then when it became part of the story, I was like, that's so simple, but so effective at the same time. So I really enjoyed this. This was probably my favorite match of the night was this, and just everything. Cause this was storytelling at its finest. And the story between Punk and Drew has been fascinating since November. You add Seth into it. It has to be heading to Bad Blood, and just pure chaos, just absolutely chaos.
I got a comment there on Facebook. Who let Triple H cook so much? Well, he is busy in the kitchen cooking up these storylines. That is for sure. Jared, we got a pay-per-view in between now and Bad Blood. It's seemingly where we're headed. Well, we got the Bash in Berlin show. What are the chances that we see Seth Rollins versus CM Punk finally one-on-one at this Berlin show? Or is that saved for later on down the road and we run it at WrestleMania like we were going to this past year?
Dude, I would love it. I would love it if you had like CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. Drew comes out, screws Punk over. Then in the main event, you have Gunther, whatever you want to call him, against Drew. And sure enough, we all know, just like a fly to crap, here he'll come and he'll cost him the title again. You know it's going to happen.
Oh, man. But it was a great match. I think I'm with Andy. I think I'm with you. I think this was my match of the night as well. I love the Cody match. I love Priest and Gunther. And the other matches we're getting ready to talk about, they were fun too. But I think Punk and Drew with Rollins in the middle of it. I was worried though, Andy, and I want to get your take on this. I was worried, especially at the beginning of the match, that inserting Seth as a special referee would overtake or add too much to this feud. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the feud was good enough on its own that it didn't need Seth yet. What are your thoughts?
Yes and no. I can see where you're coming from for sure.
Yep.
But if you go back to before the Rumble, these three guys were doing the promos back and forth on each other every week. Like these were the three guys that were locked together. And I think if you're going to do a big match, you want to have all three guys together somehow. Plus, I think it was also smart of like, this is also Punk's first match back in a long time. Having like some attention on Seth kind of takes away from maybe if he got hurt or if he's blown up or whatever the case is. I don't think it took away though. I think it added just enough to keep the story going even more.
Otherwise, I mean, Seth Rollins is not going to be on the card.
Right.
He doesn't have a spot on the card, which is wild to me.
Yeah.
Jared, what are your thoughts on Seth maybe overshadowing this too quickly? I think maybe you could have added him down the road, but was it too much too soon?
I was ready for it. And I don't think that Seth overshowered or like overtook the whole situation. I felt like he was just he was there and then he would kind of fade to the background and you kind of forgot about him. And then here he comes again and then he kind of fades back. It wasn't like you were just watching him the entire time and he was like, overtaking the shadow.
Sorry, I was reading Bryce's comment before I threw it up here. I was trying to think of a clever question. If what Jared said about Punk and Drew screwing each other at Berlin show, how do you work Seth to set up Bad Blood? Because I think it's Punk and Seth at Berlin.
Well, I think I don't even think you necessarily have to do the match there. I think you just have Punk and Seth there and like kick off the show. Punk's cutting a promo at the show, whatever. Seth comes out and a big pull apart brawl, whatever. Go towards the main event. Drew's about to go for the Claymore. Here comes Seth and Punk brawling down the rampway again into the ring. They both both screwed Drew over from the world title, and now he's livid about it. And you can keep that going forward as well.
I think you can do that. I think you could even do even if that doesn't happen, you have Punk come out to screw Drew, just like we're talking about. And then you have Seth comes out too.
Seth accidentally is the one that does it.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. So loads of different ways that you can go. I think it's super, Bryce, I think I answered your question. I think it's super easy to get Seth back in there because let's remember, you have Drew, who maybe he's going for a shot at Gunther, maybe he's not, but Drew is currently in possession of the bracelet.
Yep.
Seth put the bracelet on in the middle of the match.
Yep.
And CM Punk hitting a GTS, that's not going to be enough.
No.
He's not letting it go at that point. Something's going to be said about it. So I think it's easy to keep those guys together ahead of Bad Blood. I think this triple threat match is WrestleMania worthy, but I don't think we can wait that long.
I don't think so either.
We can't wait that long. Jared, let me ask you this, because Andy and I were talking about it when we first, settled on this triple threat Hell in a Cell thing. has there ever been a triple threat Hell in a Cell match? It's like, we don't think so, but I can't say for sure. Do you recall any?
Man, I felt like there was one. I know you had the 6-man Hell in a Cell, and then you had DX against Big Show and somebody where somebody
It
got
was
their
DX
face.
against Big Show, Vince and Shane. So that was
And Vince got his
2-on-3.
head shoved in Show's rear. I think.
You also had Legacy versus DX.
Was that in a
Legacy
cell?
versus DX.
Okay, so that's 6-man.
No, it was 2-man. It was Triple H and Shawn versus Cody and Ted DiBiase
Okay, so we've had tags.
New Day and Usos.
Yeah, so we've had
They've
tags,
done it.
but have we had a triple threat?
Not that I can think of, but I mean,
can't
I swear I felt like there was one, but I can't. Not that I can think of.
I can't think of one either, honestly. So this could be the first one.
That's a good one to kick. It's a good one to be the first one too.
I mean, somebody's got to be the first. It can't be Shawn Michaels since he's the first in everything else.
Yeah.
So it can't be Shawn. Well, so let's put these guys.
Unless he makes himself like special guest referee or something like that.
Don't put it past him. Don't put it past him because he will sweet chin music somebody.
Yes, everybody.
Or everybody. That's right. It's not Rollins rules, it's Shawn's
there
rules.
you go.
So there you go. All right, let's move on down the card. Let's talk about the match that Jared brought up that he had to go do a number 2 in the middle of, so maybe he won't have much to add here. Bayley and Nia Jax. Nia winning the championship from Bayley. Somewhat surprising, honestly. We had an attempted cash in by Tiffany, ended up not happening.
Yep.
Little bit of tease there towards the end, Andy. You can see Tiffany is picking her moment.
She is. Yeah. This was like the most surprising finish of the night. I did not expect Nia to walk out with the win over Bayley. It was a lot better than I was anticipating it to be. Still wasn't like anything like groundbreaking or anything like that.
Right.
But it was one of those like Nia Jax in that unbeatable dominant heel role works sometimes, depends on who she's in there with.
Yep.
And also like we forget how good, it's kind of like Sami Zayn. We forget how good of a underdog babyface Bayley can be.
Right.
And there were like multiple times in it where you thought she was going to pick up the win. The moment when she like walked Nia to the middle of the ring and power bombed her was crazy. I did not expect that spot from this match. It was the one that got like one of the biggest pops of the night from us.
And it's interesting because there was somebody at our house, shout out to Josh Pate, who's been on our show before. If you missed that episode, go back and check it out on our archives. We interviewed him during WrestleMania week. But Josh Pate, he made the comment and he said, why, Jared, and maybe you can answer this, why waste that big of a spot? Bayley power bombing Nia Jax. Why waste that if Bayley's going to end up losing?
I thought it was a better match than I ever dreamed it could be. And so I thought that you have that spot and that helps make it a passable match.
I'm just leaving
it's the only thing we're talking about.
For people to see it, by the way. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Jared. I interrupted you. I'm trying to be funny. Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying it's the only thing we're talking about. I mean, if that had not happened, would we be talking about any part of that match?
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. I mean, I thought Nia did fine.
Yeah.
I thought Bayley did as good as she could with
Kicking out of the Annihilator was a big moment too.
Was super cool.
Yeah. I didn't expect that to happen. My thing is, if Bayley would have won, where does she go from there?
Yep.
But 2, now that she's lost, where does Bayley go from here?
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's kind of the question we always have about Bayley is, with Charlotte and with Becky, you always knew they were going to be in a big feud. They were going to be in a world title feud, something like that. Bayley, it's kind of a toss-up. Like you never really know what she's going to do next.
Yeah, the women's division is not strong on SmackDown.
No.
Especially, I'm sorry, with Nia Jax being the champion.
That's not going to be long, I don't think, though.
It's not. Well, yeah. There was Jared. I said that I thought Charlotte would come back tonight and confront whoever wins. And I was wrong about that. But having said that, I hate to say that we need Charlotte back to help save this division.
The flyer in the bank contract, man. She can cash it in as soon as she comes back. World title shot.
See, I don't think Charlotte shows up until Jade wins it. I think Jade will win it off of Nia pretty quickly, and then that's your Rumble match is Jade versus Charlotte.
Oh no, that's WrestleMania. That cannot be Royal Rumble.
I think they're doing Jade Bianca at WrestleMania.
No, see, I mean,
unless you do Bianca Rhea at WrestleMania,
that's where I want them to go is Bianca Rhea at WrestleMania.
But you got to do Jade Bianca at some point.
You do. That's true. That's true. Maybe that comes at WrestleMania. I don't know. Regardless, it's a weak women's division on SmackDown. We need something to pump it up a little bit. Maybe it's the Queen. Maybe it's Becky coming back. I don't know. We'll see. SmackDown moves to USA here in about a month.
September 13th.
September 13th. So expect a big show for that. Expect maybe some roster shakeups. I don't know. What I do know is we've got quite a bit of viewers checking us out. If it's your first time, make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, we drop new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday, wherever you find your podcast and on our YouTube channel. Don't forget our partners at SportsWire Radio who play our shows all the time. They are big supporters of Squared Circle Radio. We appreciate Tom and the gang so much. And we appreciate all of you guys who are tuned in live. Drop us a comment. We'll try to get to it the best that we can. If you've tuned in for the replay, still drop us a comment. We'll read them. We responded to a ton of comments this past week on the Mount Rushmore of heel turns in the world of wrestling. We're going to bring that back up this Tuesday. We're not going to do it here tonight, but it's coming back Tuesday. A lot of people responding to that. A lot of people have some opinions. A lot of heel turns that Dad and I left out. My dad was on the podcast last week. If you guys missed it, lots of ones that we left out. We want to hit coming up this Tuesday. So don't miss that. All right, Jared, let's move to the U.S. Championship match. We said it a couple of weeks ago. This guy had to get it done, or he just wasn't going to ever get it done. And he finally did it. Still maybe a little too late, but LA Knight is the United States champion. Man, Logan Paul had a lengthy reign. We'll see what LA Knight can do with it.
But this was just Logan Paul's, third defense?
I think so.
He defended at WrestleMania. He defended against, did he defend against Ray after he beat him for it? Probably
hasn't had a lot.
Not very many. So maybe the third. You're right.
So a lengthy reign, but it's kind of like Roman's reign. He didn't really defend it a whole lot during that reign either. So, I mean, but yeah, man, LA Knight has deserved this for so long. And if Rock hadn't come back when he did, and everything going on with Cody and all those fireworks going off, man, I think LA Knight was going towards the top. And that just kind of cut him off, dude. So I'm glad to see that they're throwing him a bone, maybe let him work his way back up again now, because he will have to work his way back up.
Jared, we had an audible gasp in our house at the superplex spot in this match where LA Knight like almost landed on his head. Or no, Logan Paul, I'm sorry. Man, wild. My goodness, right?
Were they trying for that, you think, or was that a boo-boo?
I think we think it was a boo-boo.
Yeah.
That Logan Paul
didn't rotate enough.
Didn't rotate his legs back, because if you look as they're going up, his knees are still bent. They're not extended to take the momentum backwards.
Yeah.
It was
he was like stalled in the air for like a minute before he hit the ground too. It was, I thought he broke his neck for a second.
Yeah,
I was watching it by myself at that point, and I was like, "Ooh, crap!"
Yep.
And then I kind of just watched for a second, and everything seemed to be okay. But yeah, man, I thought we could have had a major boo-boo right there.
Before we keep going, again, we're monitoring your comments live. We got a comment here, and I think this is from your boy Brad, Jared. He says, "Jared, love the shirt." Jared, I'm gonna full screen you here. Pop that shirt up here and tell everybody what you're sporting tonight.
So this is a radiology shirt from a place that one of my good friends, man, we did a travel job together. Kind of went through hell there together for almost a year. So he's still doing the traveling. I'm not, but he got me this shirt and was nice enough to mail one to me, my wife, and my daughter. So I just thought it was pretty cool, man, that he did that. So I told him I'd wear it on the show. And Brad, I appreciate you, buddy. I was actually talking to Brad through this whole show, back and forth. And so we were trying to predict what was happening and all this stuff. And so that made it pretty fun too.
I love that. All right. I just want to make sure that we got that comment in before maybe if he dipped out or anything. I want to make sure we threw that up. Let's get back to Logan Paul and LA Knight. A couple of the same comments here. I'm going to throw this up, and we talk about this all the time. Bryce says, I can't stand Logan, but he's athletic. And Aaron says, Logan Paul being good at this also hurts my soul. Andy, it's wild how good Logan Paul actually is.
Yeah, it's a wild, annoying, ridiculous, whatever you want to throw in there. The springboard moonsault that he hit,
oh my god,
was absolutely ridiculous.
I've never seen anything like that.
No.
That was wild.
Yeah. So shout out to him. Props to him for it. He's got one of those faces and personalities that you either love him or you cannot stand him. And when he brought out Machine Gun Kelly is when I really knew I really don't like this guy. I really do not like Logan Paul. He brought out Machine Gun Kelly here. So it was a great match. LA Knight finally gets his flowers. I still believe he should have won Money in the Bank last year. I think it was a better fit for him than Damien Priest. It's crazy it's taking this long to get him a championship gold here in the main roster, but I think this is just the beginning of things to come down the line for him, of possibly going after Cody or going after Gunther in the world title at some point down the line.
Jared, Logan Paul, best celebrity turned wrestler that we've seen maybe ever.
Hands down, dude. I mean, he's doing stuff that like even the wrestlers aren't attempting. I mean, like you said, you've never seen that before. Yep. So, I mean, you have full-time guys that have been doing this for years, and he's doing stuff they won't try.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially like normal people like us and like Aaron. I always have to remind myself how athletic these guys are by imagining myself trying to hit that springboard moonsault. I would simply break my freaking neck, as would the rest of us. So, yeah, shout out to Logan Paul and everything that he is doing. And, you know, even losing he's been super active on a regular basis, almost full time, maybe, with this championship. So all that to say, as much as we all maybe it gets on our nerves that he's as good as he is, I hope this doesn't take away his appearances, and I hope he can stick around not having the championship. I can see these guys going one more round for the title at the Berlin show. So hopefully he sticks around. Let's go back. You mentioned him earlier, Andy. Let's talk about Sami Zayn finally dropping the championship to Braun Breaker. You talk about a freak of an athlete. Jared, I think this should have happened back at Money in the Bank, but here we are, Braun Breaker, the Intercontinental Champion.
Oh, yeah, man. This dude's going straight to the top. I don't know how long it's going to take him, but if he stays on the straight and narrow, stays out of trouble, dude, he's going to be main event in WrestleMania. I just don't think there's much of an if and or a but about it.
I mean, he's a Steiner. We saw his dad and his uncle in the crowd tonight. They weren't necessarily known for their athletic prowess.
No.
But Braun.
Well, Scott, back in the day, before he got really, really jacked up, I mean, he was doing the Frankensteiner and doing crazy suplexes like Brock does.
That's true. It was like late 80s, early 90s when he was doing some wild stuff. But Braun, obviously, like Jared said, headed straight to the top. We saw Bayley's title reign from WrestleMania in tonight. We also see Sami Zayn's title reign from WrestleMania in tonight. And Damien Priest's title reign from WrestleMania tonight. The only one that survived was Cody Rhodes.
Yep.
That's the only one that matters, in my opinion. Anyway, just kidding. But no, Andy, we're talking about fantasy booking. What do you do with Bayley? What do you do with this? What do you do with Sami Zayn now?
I think there's one more match between Sami and Braun.
Really? We got to run this back one more time.
I mean, he lost the title. Might as well run it back one more time. I think that happens on a Raw, though. I think that's a Raw main event.
I certainly hope so.
I mean,
Jared, wait a minute. Jared's sitting over here cackling like a little schoolgirl. I can't help that I just can't get behind Sami Zayn. What do you find so hilarious?
Because you're just like, I certainly hope so. I hope it's done on a Raw, and I can just fast forward through it and not have to watch it on the pay-per-view.
Accurate. That is accurate.
I like Sami Zayn. I really liked him in the whole bloodline angle, but he just dropped, man, after that. So I really don't care what they do with him unless they put him back in the bloodline.
Which is the comment that Bryce just left us. I'll throw it up on the screen here. You got to free him up so he can get back in the bloodline story. And if that's what this is, if we're freeing him up to go back to that, and him and Jey Uso, we saw them tag, was it last
week or 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago, something like that. So you find a way to get them back together, and we slowly start building towards that.
Yeah.
Maybe Jimmy comes back, whatever. Then I'm all for that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is I think the next step for Sami is putting him and Jay as like a tag team, like a makeshift tag team, like they did with Jay and Cody for a while, and have those guys go up until we get into the bloodline stuff. I do have to say this. I think we both owe Braun Breaker a massive apology.
Okay.
Me and you.
We do.
Because do you remember when NXT 2.0 kicked off?
Yeah.
And they were pushing Braun Breaker to the top.
Yeah.
I think me and you both sat on this show. I think it was the pipe bomb version of this show. But we sat on this show. We sat on this show and talked about how Braun Breaker was basically going to be the death of NXT.
Did we say that?
I think that's basically what we said. I would like to go on record now and say, one, I am so sorry, Braun. I was not familiar with your game. And two, I am a very big Braun Breaker fan now. Like, I think it was we dogged him and Von Wagner. We were right about Von Wagner. Von Wagner became absolutely nothing. Braun Breaker is a future world champion, WrestleMania main eventer, probably a Hall of Famer. Probably you can keep listing the things off, because Braun Breaker has everything you want in a wrestler and even more.
Aaron Grisham, you cannot confirm that I said that. I know that for a fact. You cannot.
I can.
You cannot confirm it. You do not have. You don't see. Thank you for admitting. You don't have the receipts. I hate eating crow. I hate saying stupid stuff. So I'm sure that I said it.
Yeah.
I'm sure you said it, because I
was so mad about NXT 2.0.
We were at your house recording the first night of NXT 2.0. So I 100%.
Yeah.
I probably said it. Listen, Braun Breaker is a way more skilled version than Goldberg, and he can be pushed to the top, and he's got character. He can
talk on the mic. Yeah.
All those things. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's talk about the opening match, arguably the best storyline on television right now. And we talk about Judgment Day imploding. We finally saw the turn. Dominic Mysterio officially turning on Rhea Ripley, aligning himself with Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan retains her championship. Jared, I think that was the only way for this story to continue, honestly. Like, this had to happen, right?
Well, like I told you, I was texting Brad, and like I kept seeing either this white shirt or a white towel or something that Dirty D had. And so I was like, dude, whenever that Liv was working on that shoulder and Rhea kept popping the shoulder back in place, I was like, dude, there's going to be a submission. Dom's going to throw in the towel for Rhea, and then he's going to, basically align with Liv. And so that was how I wanted it to go. But
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Maybe that's too old school. Maybe we shouldn't go back that far. But I do like that. I really do. I think that would have been really, really good, because didn't we say something about throwing a towel in at some point? But that was with Finn.
That was with Finn and Priest.
Yeah. But still, I thought it was fantastic. In watching it, because we were all like, oh crap, here it comes, blah, 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 whatever. And then Dom threw the chair in the ring, and he pointed to Liv, and he looked at Liv. And I looked at Andy. I said, he looked at Liv. And you said, what?
I missed it.
He did? I said, yes. He pointed at Liv. He pointed at Liv. Boom. There it goes. And, man, it happened.
The little smirk on his face whenever her music started playing, and you just saw, like, this dude knew what he was doing the whole time.
Yep.
Just, it's so proper wrestling, and it's beautiful.
Yep.
And I love every second of it, because it's one of those things, like, my wife, this is like the storyline she talks about all the time, because it's got all the stuff, and she hates Dominic Mysterio with every fiber in her being. And seeing all of this, she cannot help but giggle and laugh every time there's something like this happens. And it's entertaining. Like, it's so good. I love it.
It's so entertaining.
Trash ass mustache. Line of the night. Line of the night.
It was amazing. It really was. It's so amazing that Aaron Grisham wants to be Dominic Mysterio when he grows up. Well, Yeah.
Good luck.
Good luck with that. Regardless, Mark leaving us a comment, OTC raising up the ones. Yes, absolutely. Acknowledging the return of our tribal chief. And again, if you missed that, and if you're watching us live, rewind. We talked about that just a little bit earlier in the show. Spent about 20 minutes on it, really. So go back and check that out.
We didn't even talk about the spot of the night.
The spot of the night.
Spot of the night. Spot of the night, Jelly Roll choke slam in Austin Theory. Man, that choke slam was beautiful from Jelly Roll.
Man, and the dude wants to get in the ring. I say bring it on. I mean, let's give it a shot. Although he had to be helped up by Miz and R-Truth, but that's neither here nor there.
So I looked at Tess and I said, do you think that he had to pass a physical before he was allowed to do that? And so immediately got called mean. But I felt like it was a legitimate question.
He got in the ring a lot quicker than I expected.
Yeah,
Let's put it that way. I mean, it was like boom, and he was right there. So I don't know. Maybe
it was a clean choke slam. I mean, it looked, the choke slam looked really nice.
Listen,
and the 5-knuckle shuffle. He took a bump. I did not think that was going to work out good for him.
He absolutely did. My thing is, though, as much credit as we're giving Jelly Roll, and I have to pull this up before I forget. Poll of the night: could Jelly Roll hit the springboard moonsault?
Please, try it, Jelly Roll.
You better reinforce the ring if you're trying to pull that. No, in all seriousness, shout out to Austin Theory for the way that he took that choke slam. Jelly Roll could not have done that without Austin Theory and the way he did it. Props to that dude, man. That was really, really good. Jared, go ahead. I know you got a thought. Go ahead.
Do y'all remember Big Sal from back in ECW? He was just a huge man with absolutely no muscle tone, but he would do like a choke slam or some move like that. 911 would do it in ECW too. That's exactly what I thought of, because like those guys didn't know how to wrestle.
Yeah.
And they would just grab somebody and that person would project themselves into the air. And then they would just kind of keep their hand and come down, on them.
Right.
And that was considered a huge choke slam. But I mean, I'm just glad that his knees are still okay. His hips are intact and in the proper joint. So
he didn't pull the Shane McMahon where he blew a quad out just getting into the ring.
That's true. Speaking of Shane McMahon, yes, we are a wrestling podcast. Yes, we do keep up with the news. Of course, we saw the Tony Khan Shane McMahon photo that got leaked this past week. Obviously, you can go listen to Busted Open. Bully Ray exclusively spoke with Shane McMahon, who gave him the first statement about what happened. So again, we're all about context on this podcast. Those are the words from Shane McMahon, so that's what we're going to go by. Having said that, we're going to discuss it this Tuesday on the podcast because it is big news.
It is.
We do need to talk about the potential working relationship of AEW and Shane McMahon, whatever that looks like. All that to say, let's go back to Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio and Rhea Ripley really quick before we get out of here. Jared, this was the way this had to end, right? Like Rhea has to lose the first time around. Eventually, she's going to get the title back, but she had to lose the first time.
Oh yeah, I mean, she's probably. I think we've got one or two more probably 2 matches left with those two. I think somehow Liv beats her again, and then Rhea gets her in a cage, maybe in a cell.
Or the cell at Bad Blood, like Bryce just. I mean, that's perfect timing right there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to do a ladder match between these two as well, just because of the history of Dom and everything else. I think you have to do a ladder match.
I would do a ladder match, but make sure that it's a 20-foot ladder and you have Dom in a shark cage above the ladder instead of a belt.
I still say you put Dom on a pole.
Well,
we could have him pop out of a box. It would be my vote.
Yeah, there you go.
He is over already, Jared. He doesn't need to pop out of a box to get over, okay? Jared, did you see that? Speaking of polls, did you see the Judy Bagwell sign on Hardcam side of the show? There was a Judy Bagwell sign that I think only came up during the Liv and Rhea match. Yeah.
Wasn't there a Team U bloodline sign too, or something? Yeah. I thought that was pretty good. Oh, before I forget what I was trying to say a minute ago, and we just kind of kept on talking. But you remember how that a certain somebody might have called Ludwig Kaiser Corral?
Oh, yeah. How's he doing with his ankle injury, by the way? You guys have a good relationship, right?
So tonight, Solo comes out and she says, "Ooh, isn't that that's that one guy, the Island? Is he the Island?" And I said, "The tribal chief." She says he has a Leah around his neck, and I said, I don't know what that is." And she said, "It's a flower arrangement. Why is he so obsessed with that thing?" She said, "Watch him. He keeps looking at it. Now he's playing with it." I told you it was interesting, boys.
I'm not going to say who this person might be, but it seems like you might have a connection to them. If you could get them to come on the podcast so we could talk about it, that would be so good. No, just keep trying.
Yeah.
This person really wants to be on the show. So like
this person is in this house and she can probably hear me right now.
We'll just tell her to walk behind you and get into frame so we can talk about this. It'll be great. Oh
man.
Oh,
it's great.
Well, it was a fun show. It's good stuff. Jared, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, we used to do the turd sandwich of the night. And this is, of course, the last time I'll use this other person's opinion. But, man, it made sense. She was like, "Oh, gosh, it keeps making me so mad because every match there's so many people involved. It's not just one-on-one. Why are all these people allowed to gang up?" And then, of course, I had to explain the dynamics of heel and babyface, and I don't know if that sank in yet or not, but I'm trying. And so that just seemed to be my only problem with the night, was that it seemed like there were multiple people involved in multiple matches and cheating going on. Great show. That would be my only turd sandwich to throw out.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
There was quite a bit of interference, which we don't normally see a lot of in the Triple H era.
Not on pay-per-views.
Right.
We see it a lot on weekly TV. It happens a lot on weekly TV.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
But pay-per-views, we don't see it a whole lot. I mean, even at Money in the Bank, we were speculating like this person can get involved and this person can, and nobody really did. So
nothing happened.
But yeah, this that happened in every. Did it happen in every match?
No, it didn't happen in the Sami match.
It happened in Logan Paul.
Yep.
It happened in Nia and Bayley.
It happened in Priest, and it happened
in Rhea Live, and it happened in the main event.
Technically, it didn't happen in Punk and McIntyre because Seth was already there. So technically it didn't happen there.
Yeah.
So that was that one.
5 of the 7 matches.
Yeah,
5 of the 7 matches. There was something going on.
So whoever that is, Jared, that's so smart that brought that up. I mean, I'm telling you, bring that wisdom to the show. It would improve the show greatly.
I agree, man. I'm just relaying it right now because I can't seem to get that certain someone to come on the show. She thinks we'll make fun of her and her accent. I'm like, you can't be any worse than me. I mean, the only way you had to go is up.
As long as she's spitting good information and good knowledge, like we're not gonna make fun of anything. That's good stuff. I mean, I mean, we have to have an update on Carell at some point. I want to know when he's coming back.
We'll ask the Island. I heard that maybe he can tell us.
Oh shoot! Oh man, listen. If this is your first time hanging out with us, I hope you're having as much fun as we are. If you can't tell, we have a whole lot of fun talking about wrestling on this show. We hope that you will join us each and every Tuesday and Thursday, wherever you find your podcast and on our YouTube channel, especially on the YouTube channel, so you can see our smiling faces. We would appreciate that so much. Subscribers are obviously at an all-time high, but we are continuing to increase daily. Our viewership has been incredible over the last month or so. We can't thank you guys enough for that. Keep that up. The show is only good if you make it good. So we appreciate that so much. Again, we appreciate Tom and the Sports Wire crew for playing our shows. And can't thank him enough for all the support that he gives us. Jared, anything else to add, man, on SummerSlam before we head out?
What match do you all think was the overall best match? And the only reason I'm asking is because that certain someone that doesn't know wrestling thoroughly enjoyed Gunther and what's his name? Somebody drawing a blank. Yeah, Damien Priest. I keep wanting to call him Damien Sandow. That's horrible.
I think that match has a strong case to be match of the night. I lean towards Punk and Drew because of the storytelling and the fact that we clearly are not finished there.
Yeah.
I think I'll lean Punk and Drew.
Yeah, I think if we're talking bell to bell, I would probably say Gunther Damien.
Sure.
But over like the best match of the night to me was probably Punk Drew.
Yeah. See, I think Gunther and Damien was probably the best wrestling match.
Yes.
As far as the most fun, man, it was Cody. It was Cody's match.
Yeah.
I had a blast.
Yep.
So
our tribal chief return. How can you not, when the tribal chief returns, be excited about that? Andy, man, anything else to add before we sign off?
No, just another great pay-per-view. And we are still just twisting and turning away through some of these stories that we don't know when they're going to end, but it's the journey is a lot of fun, and I can't wait till next time.
It's going to be a blast. We will be right here with you on Tuesday to give you some more fallout, some more thoughts. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Like the video on the way out. We would appreciate it so much. For Jared Justice, Andy York, my name is Chris Belcher. This has been yet another edition of Squared Circle Radio Live, and we will catch you guys down the road.